Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned to talk about some reading projects. Roger and I are going to be talking about some reading projects that I've got going on and updating some of those. Roger probably won't be talking much about it because he's grumpy this morning because he got up on the wrong side of the tomb or something, I don't know. But it'll probably be mostly me talking. Sorry. Anyway, I have one or two or three reading projects going on at the moment and have for quite some time. I've actually got more than those, but I've got some main reading projects that are going on and have been going on, like I said, for a long time. One of them, at least, has been going on since I began the channel practically, which was, what, 4 years ago? Four? I don't even know. How long have I been doing this? I've been doing this a while. Maybe 4.5, something. Who knows? It's been a while. But yeah, I've got some reading projects going on. So let's do a little update on all of those. The main project, of course, the big project, is the 500 book challenge. The 500 book challenge, the challenge where I have to read 500 books that I own before I'll buy any new ones. I have bought some books for other people, but I haven't bought books for myself. It's been a while since I did that. And yeah, I can't actually remember, when's the last time I set foot in a bookstore? I had wandered into a Barnes & Noble once. And I made a video about my Barnes & Noble experience, even though I went in there and didn't buy anything, of course, because I'm on the challenge. And that Barnes & Noble is now gone, by the way, which is no surprise considering how it was when I went in there. But the 500 book challenge is rolling right along, but I'm not even halfway through. I am at 232, or I finished 232 books, so I'm on book 233. So yeah, this just keeps going on and on and on. It'll end one day, in 2.5 years or longer. It'll be a while. So most of my projects that I'll be talking about today are long term. They're just going to keep going on and on and on. And this is one of them. I have to throw a party or something when this thing is finished, if I'm still able to, We'll see. So that's the big one, the 500 book challenge, which is, it's just going right along. The next one, I have a couple read every book by challenges where I have vowed to read every book by a certain author. And when I started my channel, one of the very first real reading project that I did, I actually had a couple that I failed at. But this one's been going on, and that is to read every book by Stephen King. To read every book by Stephen King, which Stephen King was not my idea, but I had the few viewers I had at the time when I came up with this. They gave me suggestions for authors. I put them on a wheel. I spun the wheel, and I got Stephen King. Lucky me. And Stephen King, he's writing books as fast as I'm reading his books, so I've made pretty much no progress. But I'm in the mid 80s. I read all of the 1970s books, and I finished It, which feels like a major milestone, because that was one of those big giant books that was looming, It, and it was something. That book was an experience. I still have to make a video about that book. So I've got many more books of Stephen King to read. I'll show you the next 5. I'm going to be reading. Because the next one of Stephen King that I'm going to be reading is The Drawing of the Three, which is the next book in the Dark Tower series. I read the first one, The Gunslinger, which was really good. I really liked that one. It was weird. It was really good. And so The Drawing of the Three is the next one, and I can't remember if I've ever read this or not. I think I might not have read this one. Definitely haven't read the third one, but I'm like, did I read? I don't think I have. I'll find out when I start reading it. But yes, The Drawing of the Three is the next one. I hear good things about... This is what I hear about this series. I hear this series is mostly good, but it has a terrible ending. What a shocker for Stephen King. But we'll see. I will judge it. I will judge it for myself when I finally get there. I'm reading every book, so we'll see. But I think there was a period where he was just writing this series for a while and nothing else. We'll see. Drawing of the Three, the next book. Hopefully it'll be as good as the last one was, the first book. And then I've got Misery. Misery is the next one. That is the next one, right? Yeah, Misery, because I'm reading these in publication order. And mostly with Misery, what I remember is the movie. The movie I remember very well. I did read the book, but I don't have as clear memories about the book as I do about the film. I do remember it was good. So I have Misery to read. So we will see. Hopefully it won't be a miserable experience. But I remember this book actually being pretty good. So we'll see. I can't say that for the next book, which I do remember reading. I do remember reading this next one. And this copy is tattered. The next book I have to read after that from Stephen King is The Tommyknockers, which is another gigantic book. God, how long is this thing? How long am I going to have to suffer with The Tommyknockers? 747 pages, which isn't nearly as long as the last book. That was really long from Stephen King. That was over 1,000. But this is still really long. And I don't remember this being very good. It had something to do with aliens, right, Roger? I remember it had something to do with aliens. That's literally all I remember, is that and that this book kind of sucked. But, maybe it's great and I just am remembering it wrong. I doubt it, but we'll see. The Tommyknockers. How do you guys feel about The Tommyknockers? Did you like it? I have to read it. Whether it's good or bad, I have to read it. It's one of those books on the list. So there's that. So we got some novels coming up from Stephen King. And then we've got some interesting things, because after that, the next book is a book of photography. Actually, it's Nightmares in the Sky. The photographs are by some fella called F. Stop Fitzgerald. Okay. And Stephen King wrote the text, and it's all about gargoyles. All those cool gargoyles you'll see around old buildings in Europe. And so that should be pretty cool. Yeah. It's mostly pictures, so this book shouldn't take long. There has to be some text. There has to be some text in here somewhere. It's on my list. Oh yes, here we go. There is some text in here. So yeah, Stephen King wrote that. So I have to read this, Nightmares in the Sky. And then after that is kind of a book of interviews, more or less. It's Bare Bones, Conversations on Terror with Stephen King. So I guess this is just interviews with Stephen King. So yeah, Conversations on Terror, a nonfiction book from Stephen King, Bare Bones. So yeah, this should be interesting. I got this from a friend of the channel. Otherwise, I would not be able to read it. So yeah, Bare Bones. That should be interesting, because I this is definitely one I've never read. So I've got that. I'll put these back down here. So, and then of course about 1 million Stephen King books after that. I think it's about 1 million. And there's like The Dark Half. Is that after that? I can't remember. I'm going to have to consult my master list. Another major thing, though, I'm also doing is reading every book by Edgar Rice Burroughs, a very different writer, of course, the creator of Tarzan and Mars. And I originally was going to read all of these in a row, but of course that didn't happen because I'm on BookTube and I have to read other things. I've got all these other projects going on. But, I'm making slow progress. Neither one of these authors am I even halfway through all their books. But at least Edgar Rice Burroughs has the decency to be dead. So now he's not writing any more books, unlike Stephen King. So there's a definite cutoff with Edgar Rice Burroughs. Now, the book I thought I was going to be reading next was The Efficiency Expert, but it turns out I was wrong. I consulted my list, and it turns out there's a book that I had forgotten about that I haven't read yet, which is The Moon Maid. It's The Moon Maid. And this is the complete and restored edition of The Moon Maid from, was it Bison? Yeah, Bison. It's actually, it's the Library of Nebraska Press. Library of Nebraska Press did this book. And it's the restored edition. So this actually has a novel and 2 novelettes, which make up the entire Moon Maid series. And according to the back, this is the most complete version of the Moon Maid saga ever made available. This edition contains the story as published serially, along with numerous passages, sentences, and words excised from the magazine version and added later by the author. And this edition also has a bunch of other stuff. So I guess there was stuff cut out from the magazine edition or other stuff put in. Who knows? But this is the complete edition. Now, so this is probably the version I'm going to read. I do have the earlier editions that were published. Like, it was originally published after the magazines in a couple paperbacks. This is The Moon Maid, the initial story in the Moon Maid series, with a great crinkle cover. That's awesome. There was another paperback edition that came later with an awesome Frazetta cover, very much based on this, but this cover is pretty great from this old Ace edition, The Moon Maid. So this just has that original magazine edition, apparently with stuff that was cut out, apparently. And then that's followed by the 2 novelettes that make up The Moon Men, which are also in that complete edition. And this is not a crinkle cover. Who does this one? I always forget this artist's name. Ed Emsch. Ed Emsch does this, although Krankle does an interior illustration, I think. Yeah, that's Krankle right there. He does that. So, yeah, The Moon Maid and The Moon Men, which make up this, which is what I'm probably going to be reading. And then after that, it's The Efficiency Expert. I'm reading these more or less in composition order, but it's difficult with Edgar Rice Burroughs because, you know, they weren't published in the order that he wrote them, and it was all... And when they were published as books, they came out in a different order. So I'm doing my best. But the next one, actually, after that, is The Efficiency Expert, which is a kind of crime novel, I think. I'm not sure. This is one I've never read. One of the few Edgar Rice Burroughs books I've never read. Let me move these over here. Okay, so after that comes more Tarzan. Tarzan the Terrible. It's Tarzan the Terrible, although this book is not terrible. I remember this book being pretty good. This is a direct sequel to the last Tarzan novel, Tarzan the Untamed, where Tarzan is searching for Jane, who is kidnapped by German soldiers during World War I. And he wanders into one of the many lost worlds which exist in Africa, apparently. And he encounters dinosaurs, as you can see there, from this completely awesome Boris Vallejo cover. That's a fantastic Boris cover. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to this. This is, like I said, I remember this being an excellent book. And I love Tarzan, so there we go. And particularly exciting, after that, I get to go back to Mars. So Edgar Rice Burroughs is picking back up with the Mars series. And the next book in the series of the Mars books is The Chessmen of Mars, with another awesome crinkle cover from Ace Books back in the olden days. So The Chessmen of Mars, which I remember being a really good Mars novel. So yeah, I've got this one, The Chessmen of Mars, coming up. And then after that, it's The Girl from Hollywood, which I did read, but I remember next to nothing about, except that it was kind of a Western, except that it took place in the 1920s, I think. If I've got the dates right. And it does have another pretty cool Boris cover on there. I remember the cover being better than the book, but we'll see. Like, it's been years since I've read it. I was probably 18 or 19 when I read that book. And so I've got those projects. And the other big project I have going on is the Marvel Master Plan, where I'm reading every issue of all of the major Marvel comics in their initial runs, the volume ones. And so I read all of Thor, which the entire first run of Thor, which ran, I think, from 62 to 1996. A lot of these titles got canceled in 1996 because of Heroes Reborn, which is this nonsensical thing that happened in 96 where Marvel ended a lot of their major series and then hired back a bunch of creators from Image Comics to reboot their major comic books, and it was not so great. And then restarted the books again right after that. So I read all of Thor, and now I'm on Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four ran 416 issues in its initial run. And then it was canceled and brought right back. But out of the 416, the next issue I have to read is 246. I've read 245. And so the next one I have to read is Too Many Dooms. And that's the next issue. And I'm reading these issues pretty much any way I can. Epic collections, omnibus volumes like this one. I've got a bunch of Marvel Masterworks electronically, so any issues that aren't in the omnibus volumes, I could read there. So I'm reading all the issues plus annuals and things like that came out at the same time that feature these heroes. So yeah, I'm on the Fantastic Four, and then I've got to read Captain America, and then Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's going to be a long one because Spider-Man did not end in 1996. Spider-Man continued. And so the first run of Spider-Man lasted a long time. It was eventually canceled and restarted with the #1 issue because comic book companies can't help themselves. They have to do that all the time now. But then I've got Spider-Man, which is going to be, I'm going to be reading a lot of Spider-Man. And then there's Iron Man, the Hulk, the Avengers, the X-Men. And do I have any after? Am I missing any? I don't think so. Moon Knight, major characters here. Got to read all the issues of Moon Knight. So yeah, the Marvel Master Plan, that one will take literally years to do. So there's that. I think that's my major projects. I think those are my major projects. And then I've got minor ones, Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, all the other various things that I'm reading every month, like reading every issue of Doc Savage from the first run of, or from the, every issue of Doc Savage as they were published in magazine form back in the 1930s. It's early, man. What time is it? It is 4:48, which means this has lasted longer than I thought it would. I have to go get coffee. Okay, guys, that's my update. Wasn't that exciting? It was a thrill, Roger. It was a thrill. Okay, guys, I will see you back here for another exciting episode on Monday when I do my weekly reading report. I will catch you then.